Well, thank you, John, for the generous introduction. I was thinking someone was coming in after me after those first words. So it is great to be here as always, and I appreciate his fight for lower taxes. Every year he is up in Tallahassee, he is actually talking about reducing spending. And I've got to admit that in being in Tallahassee, of the, let's say, 100 meetings I have a week or so, 99 of them are, we heard you have a lot of money up here, I have a great way to spend it for you. That's about most of the meetings, because yet when we go home, it's just the opposite. If you all can slow down your spending, we can kind of catch up and meet our own needs. And that's what the topic today is really designed to talk about. Talking about how we make Florida that envy of the nation once again. And it is incredibly still possible in a very positive way. I'm happy to say that the Florida Senate, for example, is turning more conservative. I think as many people know, just a few years ago, the Florida Senate was trying to figure out new ways to tax you. And now we're actually going to have some leaders in place that are looking to reduce spending and reduce taxes in a very common sense way. And that's really our goal. It's the reason I moved from the House to the Senate. I think when I was serving the Florida House, that you're kind of speaking to the choir. Yet at the Florida Senate, they think that if they've been there long enough, government might actually start working. And I think sometimes you know better. And so it's going to be a real challenge for the next few years, but I think we've made some real strides. And I'm excited by the fact that a lot of people are trying so hard in such a determined way to truly try to change the state. And when I first ran for office, we had a lot of fun. I remember running it the first time. I was in a 6-way Republican primary. If you recall, back in the year 2000, it was term limits for the first time. And everybody and his brother was running for office. And I remember I went to go see my county chairman, and I said, look, I think I'm going to run for the Florida House of Representatives. And he looked me in the eye, and he looked at me again, and says, well, son, you have no chance. And so why don't you just go help somebody else? You can't win. And here are our family now. My wife and our 3 kids are here today, too. Hi. And my daughter's name's Reagan, in case you don't know my philosophy. And so we ran for office, and we were trying to think, I'm in real life, but I'm not a senator. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 15 years at the community college, now at the college level. And I was thinking, I don't have much money, but I've got some time in my hands in the afternoon. So how are we going to change this? How could I kind of get in touch with folks and not spend a lot of money? I just didn't have it. Couldn't raise it either, for that matter. So we thought we'd have a little fun. One of the things we first came out with, you might have seen this before, our slogan when I ran for office was, what's a Haridopolos? Because I think in one thing in politics, you have to have the ability to laugh at yourself a little bit, because we're going to make mistakes. And they're going to be amplified in the newspaper. And that's just understandable. And that's part of the realities of running for office. The other thing that we did, I'm sure like a lot of you all did when you asked the tax many different times here in Central Florida, is you did not rely on the media. You went out and met people one-on-one. You talked to your friends about it. You got on the internet. You got on the phone. And you talked about why you thought this was a bad idea to raise taxes. And that's exactly what we did. We started in January. Every morning I'd wave on the street corner from 7 to 8 in the morning. And when I got out of class around 3 or 4 o'clock, I'd knock on doors. So for 9 straight months, we saw about 25,000 people in total, door to door. And we waved to who knows how many hundreds of thousands. I felt like the greeter at Walmart. It was just one of those things where people, I kind of said good morning and good night to them on their way home. It was just what we did every single day because we wanted to be approachable. And at first, when they drove by our sign, they kind of looked at it. What was that? In fact, one guy told me a little bit later, he said, I saw you standing on the street corner, and your name starts with an H. It ends with an S. I thought it said homeless, and you're some nut on the front. Eventually, I saw you enough times, and I realized it was a name I couldn't pronounce. And by 9 months later, I actually could pronounce your name, and I was saying, good morning to you, Mike. And it was just a great feeling. On an election day, we had a very successful result. My chairman was like, I think I like you now. So it was a great turnaround. It's been an incredible experience from day one. We were a part of that recount in the year 2000. I moved over to the Senate in the year 2003. We went through, of course, just a year and a half earlier, the tragedy of 9/11. Florida has been through so much, and we have tried to work in a principled way, but I, too, am concerned about some of the directions in which the state has tried to go. And every time they attempted to increase taxes, I did everything I possibly could to stop such tax increases, whether it be the so-called sales tax swap back in 01 and 02, or the latest endeavor they tried with Amendment 5. Because if you look at those numbers, which is my job to do, it would have been a pretty massive tax increase. And for once, I can actually say I agreed with the Florida Supreme Court, which is not always the case. So that said, I wanted to kind of talk about something that I hope you all would join us upon, as we'll be announcing pretty soon, the endeavor to truly change the Florida, not only tax system, but more importantly, maybe the Florida spending system. Because in my opinion, that's where government goes wrong. It's always amazing how Washington, D.C. says they cut spending.